tell us about David Pakman, and then we're going to watch David Pakman response. But tell us about him and his relationship to this project.
Yeah, so David Pakman is also one of the content creators involved in this program. We found that he attended meetings for the highest paid tier of this program. He's a big liberal YouTuber, and yeah, he is involved in, he's one of the content creators that attended these onboarding sessions for this program.
Okay, so let's take a look at what David Pakman had to say about this article.
I was not even going to talk about this because I hate participating in the drama. I hate the circular firing squad that often builds on the left. But it's really important that my audience know what's going on. So I am going to talk about it. I was named in an article in Wired yesterday. And the article is about a so-called dark money group on the left called Chorus. And I'm named in the article along with other creators as being part of the group. And since this article came out, I've heard from a bunch of you. David, did you sell out? David, is the DNC telling you what to say? How could you do this to us? I knew back in 2021 when you had the following to say that you must have been getting paid by someone, and here's the proof. And I was not even going to give this the time of day, but my relationship with you, my actual audience, is the most important thing. And so I decided to do this segment. I also was told that other creators, like a Twitch streamer named Hassan Piker.
Wait, okay, like a Twitch, are you really assuming, like, are you pretending you don't know who Hassan Piker is? Like a Twitch streamer, I believe, by the name of Hassan Piker. Like, come on. Guys, you should have shown me drafts of these. I would have helped you improve these. Okay.
We're covering this in ways that don't reflect the reality of the situation and are perpetuating falsehoods about what is and isn't going on. Now, I can't speak to the motives of the people that wrote the article or those that are reacting to it. I can't get in their heads. All I can do is tell you what's going on, and then you can judge and you can make an assessment of me.
All right, so we're about to do that. But anything you want to tell him about, or the audience about what your motives, what's in your heart and your head?
Yeah.
Since he thinks it's so mysterious.
I have reported, I have a whole book that I wrote about the origins of the content creator industry. And in that book and in my reporting for years, I've reported on political influence schemes. So I would say 80% of the work that I do is covering Republicans, and I've covered the far right influencers extensively. But I've written a lot about the Democrats too, and their various influencer efforts. So when I heard about this program, I thought, oh, wow, here's a high profile example of how the Democrats are seeking to influence the online ecosystem in light of Harris's loss.
Yeah, it's really not that surprising. It's not that doesn't require a lot of head scratching, but I get it. Again, this is an attempt at character assassination, right? Like, why do these people do this? And then it's the pseudo, like, respectful. I hate this passive aggressive pseudo respectful. Like, it's not look, I'm not going to cast aspersions, and then I'm going to just like passive aggressively cast aspersions. Like, I don't know what's in their heads, like pathologizing you and Hassan Piker for writing it and Hassan Piker for commenting on it. But let's take a look. He has more to say in this very same video. He has more interesting things to say.
Now, the most important thing to say is that the idea behind this group is exactly what I've been advocating for years.
So he's talking about Chorus, right? The group Chorus.
Yeah, he's talking about Chorus. Yeah.
Right.
It's for years I've been saying the left needs to organize independent media in the way that the right has been doing. The left needs to fund independent creators the way that the right does. The right has won even arguably presidential elections because they're organized with regard to online and independent media. They're killing us. We've been so behind. And this kind of support for creators is exactly what I've been advocating for. Now, the article is riddled with inaccuracies, and they're not minor inaccuracies.
We can keep playing, but is there anything you want to say in response to that spiel before we go into the so-called inaccuracies?
Well, first of all, no one's arguing that content creators don't deserve support. Like, nobody's arguing that. My reporting is on like the specific, like the lack of disclosure and the funding, and we can get into all that. But it's just like, no one's arguing that leftist creators need support. I know that better than anyone. I've literally written about that exact problem.
Yeah. leftist creators don't. No one's arguing that they don't need support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This group has nothing to do with the DNC.
So here's the mistakes, right? He's gonna debunk your mistakes.
People writing saying the Democratic Party is telling people what to say. At its base, the group has nothing to do with the DNC, period.
Our article doesn't say anything about the DNC. The article doesn't allege any DNC connection.
Number 2, I do not get clearance for anything I say. I do not run interview questions by anyone at Chorus. I don't tell Chorus when I'm going to be doing an interview. Not a single segment I have done, not a single question I've ever asked a guest has anything to do with Chorus. They don't tell me what to talk about. They don't tell me who to interview. They don't tell me how to cover a story. There are no restrictions of any kind on my content.
Okay.
I
think like what he's doing is sort of like splitting hairs, because we know we actually don't allege anywhere in the story that they are told specifically to do things, or that they're given specific like talking points, or that like Chorus has like sort of universal veto over their content, etc. There is a clause that we reported on in the contract saying that they have to use Chorus Newsroom, and that they're told to loop Chorus in on any outside engagements. If he's saying Chorus never enforced that, okay, but that is, we reported accurately on sort of what the contract stipulates, and we can get into that later. But, this idea that like, well, Chorus never told us exactly what to say. We just joined this program that has a political agenda, and we do have to show up to daily messaging sessions, and there's some line, I think, also in the contract about sort of like promoting Chorus's policy agenda, something, yes, they are not given explicit talking points, but I would argue, that there is some sort of goal to the program, and that if you were not broadly aligned with that goal, you would not be part of the program. So, that is not like explicit veto power necessarily, but so I just feel like he's refuting something that we don't allege again.
Right. Yeah. Which is, it's useful if you don't know it, then it makes it sound like, it
makes it sound like we got it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But yeah. But also, you don't have to, Crystal Ball talks about this. Noam Chomsky talks about this. You don't have to necessarily tell people what to say, because sometimes they are chosen precisely because of what they have to say. And we're going to get into that in a second. So let's actually take a look at, as someone who purports to be from the left, this is probably why Chorus doesn't need to tell him what to do, because he does stuff like this, praises Richie Torre. So let's take a look at this clip of David Pakman talking to Richie Torre, who's, as Adam Johnson has reported on, he represents the poorest district in the country, in the Bronx, and he speaks about he speaks about Israel with far more frequency than he does poverty. It's like a stunning statistic. I'll have to look that up, but it's more.
So maybe to start with, I'm interested in your perspective right now on the progressive movement. And the reason I want to talk to you about this is I see you really, when people ask me, who do you see right now as the sort of progressive that you like to be at the head of this movement going forward, I think of you.
Okay, so that tells you a lot about David Pakman. So he thinks of Richie Torre when he thinks of the progressive movement going forward. But Richie Torre, he actually was like made a lot of headlines this weekend, last week and this weekend, because he gave such a painful interview with Adam Friedland, just like came off as a total sociopath, heartless liar, and his willingness to shill for Israel, his willingness to pinkwash it, his willingness to like go after, to call out, like talk to about other Jews as if they're not good Jews or they're not real Jews, like he is some like honorary Jew-dar ability. So yeah, Richie Torre represents the poorest district in the U.S., but he mentions Israel 236% more than he mentions poverty. So that tells you a lot about Richie Torre. Then here's another reason they probably don't have to tell David Pakman what to say, because David Pakman is someone who says stuff like this about Israel and Gaza.
We have democratic countries who, if they make a mistake or lie, are subject to negative consequences, saying this wasn't Israel. They've released information, radar, audio, video. Internal assessments agree. this was not Israel. On the other hand, you have a terrorist authoritarian group with no checks and balances and no consequences for lying, saying it was Israel. And if you don't believe that there's no consequences to lying, there are still members of Congress who on Monday tweeted Israel killed 500 people at a Gaza hospital. Now that it's abundantly clear that it wasn't Israel, they have not deleted their tweets. Some of them have even doubled down.
Okay, so that's from October 2023. He's accusing people of keeping tweets up. We now know that Israel not only bombed that hospital, but has bombed every hospital in Gaza. And yet he's kept this video up. It's on his Twitter. So that is pretty shocking. And I mean, I think that probably stands out. Like if you're going to invite someone into this incubation hub, which is funny because he has millions of subs, it's probably, you know, there's a real like Brian Tyler Cohen also doesn't talk about Gaza. And David Pakman talks about it in a way that is so pro-Israel. I mean, I remember being shocked that anyone called themselves liberal who was his age and would talk about it that way. Like I thought, like, just don't talk about it. I remember being shocked, but this is really embarrassing. And I don't think he's done a mea culpa on this issue.
I'm just disgusted by what he said. And when he's talking about like the terrorist authoritarian regime, I mean, that is Israel in this situation. So I don't even know what to say to that clip. It's appalling. And I think, I mean, this is why transparency is so important. Like if these creators, and I know that Gaza has been like a big topic of conversation among this, like how many of these creators have spoken about Gaza, how many haven't? There are a couple creators that are saying, oh, well, look at here, I spoke about Gaza XYZ. We don't know the full list of content creators in the Chorus program. The 1630 Fund and Chorus have not released that list. So we can't accurately judge the ideological makeup until we see that list. And so far, what we've seen is a bunch of creators, I think, that do share a certain agenda, ideology, or sort of viewpoint about the world are included in the program. And so we just have to speculate, you know, in the meantime, because we just don't know. And that is why transparency is so important. We should know who all these creators are that received funding. We should know that they received funding, how much. They should be transparent with that. And Chorus and the 1630 Fund should be transparent about what qualifications there are for getting into this program. You know, They need to talk about that and say, how did we evaluate this? And how did we decide who is going to get this money?
Yeah. Again, it's really interesting that no one really was talking about. I mean, not a lot of these people weren't talking about Chorus until your article came out.
Well, and now they'll say, well, Chorus was always public. Sure. Right. Again, Chorus was public. I wrote about Chorus. The New York Times wrote about Chorus. The point is that this funding scheme was not public. And that is what is newsworthy, is this undisclosed funding scheme.